Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for having me at this really important roundtable. Thank you to Dawson Barrett for bringing us together. Thank you to the Organization of American Historians for encouraging us to videotape, record our comments. I also want to thank the Labor and Working Class History Association for endorsing this panel or this roundtable, Don't Mourn, Organize, Histories of Resistance, Resilience, and Possibility. I think when Dawson organized this event, of course, he wasn't thinking about a global pandemic. But in some ways, the crisis that we're in now is simply a deepening and certainly a continuation of the crisis that we were in before the global pandemic. We're seeing in recent years a resurgence of racism in the United States, a widening of income inequality, a continued explosion and continuation of mass incarceration, continuing issues of educational inequality, and so many other types of social problems in this country. And again, I think the global pandemic has highlighted these problems and actually made them more visible to people who may not have been aware of them earlier. And so in some ways, I think the current moment of crisis really opens some opportunities for us in the sense that the core values that we have as leftists, as radicals, as progressives, core values like solidarity, community building, the understanding that we need radical changes in the economy, those ideas which seemed outrageous just weeks ago now seem common sense, such as the idea of needing to have a national healthcare system, such as the idea of needing to have a universal income opportunity for all Americans, such as the idea that so-called low-wage workers are now essential workers. Think of how people treated and dealt with cashiers or maintenance workers just a few weeks ago. And oftentimes people would say, well, these people don't deserve $15 an hour, they don't deserve a union, if they don't like their jobs, they can just quit and do something else. How ironic is now where I've seen this with my own eyes, middle class and upper class people in grocery stores literally begging low-wage cashiers to wait on them and realizing that the fates of even affluent consumers now are intimately tied to the working conditions of Latino immigrant poultry workers in meat processing facilities in places like South Dakota. So again, we're in a moment of crisis, but I think also we're in a moment of possibility. Let me talk a little more about the crisis and some of the dangers. One of the dangers that I think of is this horrific outbreak of anti-Asian racism that we're seeing. We have a president of the United States who explicitly plays upon anti-Chinese racism. We know that he was giving one of his speeches, he crossed out the term corona virus and he replaced it with China virus because he wants us to blame Chinese people for our problems. He wants us to blame black people in South Chicago for our problems. He wants us to blame Mexicans for our problems. He wants us to do anything but look at ourselves in the mirror. He wants us to do anything but build cohesion and solidarity among each other. That's the thing I think that the people in power are really worried about now. They're really worried that ordinary people will find ways to organize together to address these deep problems that we're having right now. Exhibit A, capitalism as an economic system has been exposed as never before, as deficient, as decrepit, as declining. Capitalism, again, if you were paying attention, you knew it was in deep decline and steep decline before the pandemic. But wow, what a difference a few weeks has made. You have an economic system which is proven to be completely incapable of meeting the needs of everyday people, of ordinary people, on any kind of level. And so governments throughout the world have been forced to innovate, to prop up the system, The question I think we need to pose to ourselves as I work towards a conclusion is, do we really want to continue propping up the system as it is? Do we want to go back to the way life was before the pandemic? Do we want to continue to trust the same leaders who are in place at all levels as we assess how well or how poorly they have done during the pandemic? In conclusion, I would suggest we don't want to go back to January of 2020 or December of 2019. We want to move forward. We want to continue to promote these practices of mutual aid, of self-help, of community building that have become so inspiring even in the midst of this terrible pandemic. We want to build on that everyday solidarity work that's happening all across the country. We want to use this moment in history to challenge nationalism and to talk about what does it mean to build a global community of working class people. So I hope that we'll kind of use this roundtable, this moment, this possibility to begin asking some fundamental questions about power relations in the society and begin working towards building the kind of world we really want to live in. And that we want our fellow humans and children and elders to live in as well. So thank you again for this opportunity.